More than 170 UN member states have abolished the death penalty in law or in practice. But the U.S. is one of the few remaining countries where it's still legal.
But just a short time ago, a coalition of global business leaders led by Virgin founder Sir Richard Branson launched a campaign urging governments to end the practice. So Sir Richard Branson joins us now alongside Responsible Business Initiative for Justice, Celia Ouellette. Thank you both so much for being here on this big announcement day. So, Richard, I want to start with you. You've spoken out against the death penalty a number of times. You've called it barbaric, inhumane. But talk to us about why you wanted to lead this group of business leaders now and what exactly this campaign is accomplishing.
Well, it is, in my opinion, inhumane and barbaric. It doesn't deter or reduce crime. It doesn't make communities safer. But perhaps most importantly, it has a shocking rate of error. I mean, if you take the US, I have personally met 150 people who've been freed from death row, having been found to be innocent. And it took enormous time and effort by lawyers to prove their innocence. Most of those people were black. And when you meet them, they are some of the most delightful people you could meet. The fact that they could have been executed was palpably wrong. So as an entrepreneur and a businessman, I couldn't sort of stand back and just let people continue to be executed for crimes they didn't commit. And we decided to try to rally business leaders to speak out strongly about it.
Well, Celia, what role does the private sector have when it comes to pushing government reforms?
Yeah, I think,
Sorry, up to you.
Businesses have such loud voices. They have kind of currency on the table when it comes to speaking to legislators in particular. They have a kind of credibility and they're sort of unusual allies at any campaign. And, I think when they join forces and they kind of partner closely with the campaign community and they really listen to what the campaigners and advocates need and movement leaders lead and offer that thing in return and meet them at the table and offer them something to support, that's when kind of real impact and real change happens. And I think that's what we're seeing with this campaign.
Richard, I'm wondering what role as a leader you have when you balance that you want to do business in a country, you want to do business with a country, but the country is doing something that you don't necessarily agree with. For example, the human rights violations that have been documented in China. This is a global a market where a lot of global companies want to be. How do you balance that as a manager?
Sometimes you don't do business. I mean, like in Brunei, when they said they were going to execute gay people, or in Uganda, where they said they were going to execute gay people, we said, we cannot do business with you as a country if you're going to behave like that. I think when it comes to capital punishment, there's raging arguments on both sides, and a lot of people just don't know the facts. And my wife has, if somebody commits a heinous crime, she'll want to see them executed, whereas myself and the rest of our family definitely would not. And it's only when I explain to my wife and to other businesses all the facts, and they have all the facts on their fingertips, that they understand that the death penalty is wrong. And countries can be a little bit like that too. You've got to get in there and persuade them. And unfortunately, about 170 countries have now been persuaded, and they've abolished the death penalty. I mean, you've got North Korea, you've got Iran, you've got China, and I'm afraid you've got America. But the vast majority of civilized countries and Western countries have abolished it, and some for as long as 70 years without any increase in crime as a result.
And I know, I wanted to start with you, Richard. I mean, the letter says that this campaign is going to start with 7 months of activity. What does that look like? And we could start here in the U.S. and then also speak globally, too, because I know this is about governments around the world.
Well, as far as America is concerned, the exciting thing as far as trying to get the abolition is that conservatives and liberals have got together and both want to see the abolition of the death penalty, but by and large, for different reasons. Conservatives, I suspect, see it as a waste of money because it costs much more than keeping somebody in prison for the rest of their life. Liberals are worried about an innocent person getting executed. I'm sure a lot of conservatives are as well. So it is becoming a bipartisan issue. The very fact that Virginia became, which was I think the largest killer of people in America, has now abolished it. I think sends a fantastic message to the remaining states that are still allowing it. And so we're hopeful that over the next few years we can actually see America join Europe and other Western countries in abolishing it.
And Richard, you bring up costs. Celia, I want to ask you, because I know RBIJ has done a lot of work sort of taking a look at these numbers. What is the death penalty and holding people on death row? How is it costing taxpayers? I mean, what are some of the numbers that stand out to you?
Yeah, it varies from state to state, but it costs around $1.5+ million more to send someone to death row than it does to send them to a life sentence.
Wow.
It also puts puts people who are relatives of people who've been killed through a nightmare time. And I've met some of those relatives who want to see the death penalty abolished because they have to go to appeal court after appeal court. It doesn't get settled. Whereas if it was life in prison, that would be the end of it. The person's locked up for life. But with the added advantage, if that person turns out to be innocent, that they can, after 20, 30, 40 years, be freed and clear their name. If they're executed, obviously they've got no chance to clear their name. How
do we turn this into actual policy? I mean, you are somebody who has for years been able to get things done. So what is top of your list? Do you call President Biden and speak to him about this? I want to start with you, Richard, and then hear from you, Celia, as well.
But President Biden has said that there will be no federal death penalty executions whilst he's in power. And I'm sure he's going to try to get the death penalty abolished federally, which I think is all he can do. And so, I'm sure he'll carry through that promise. So our concentration is more on the states themselves and working state by state, and also trying to persuade some of the countries overseas that are still left carrying out the death penalty to abolish it.
So Celia, how do you measure success here? When are you done? Is it when every country around the world abolishes the death penalty?
Yeah, we're done when every country around the world ends the death penalty. There's this gathering storm, there's this kind of tipping point moment that we're at, whether we're looking at globally, whether we're looking at Africa, whether we're looking at America, where we're heading towards or heading over the hill of more than 50% of the country having ended of the continent having ended the death penalty.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.